Afternoon to you. This is your daytime update on Newzroom Afrika, channel 405. We go back now to the story of a 13-year-old girl who got rescued from a human trafficking syndicate after her family members allegedly tried to sell her for 40 million rand. The rescue occurred in Heidelberg after detectives raided a house in the Vaal. For more on this, I'm joined by Hawks spokesperson, Lieutenant Colonel Philani Nkwalase. A very good afternoon to you, Lieutenant Colonel. Talk to us about this particular operation and what it took to actually nab the traffickers.
Good afternoon to you and your viewers, ma'am, and thank you for having us this afternoon. Firstly, I would love to give a court update. The two suspects, aged 36 and 57, have appeared at the Heidelberg Magistrate Court, and the matter was then postponed to the 23rd of June for a formal bail application. So the suspects were, to give a background, the suspects were arrested on Tuesday. This is after the police received an intelligence information about the child who was allegedly being sold to a syndicate, basically on a first-come, first-served basis. And of course, in the interest of justice, an operation was put in place, and a waylay investigation was also put in motion to intercept that transaction. And of course, the child was rescued before, as the child was being sold to the police agent, of course, in which we acted in the interest of justice to ensure that the child is not given into the wrong hands.
So as far as the tip is concerned, was it from another family member, a concerned member of the public? Where did this tip come from?
All right. Well, the intelligence information was received about of course, the family members that were allegedly, involved in this alleged sale, if you like. And of course, the people that were arrested are related to the child. Just to give a background, basically the child lost the mother, and so the child was living with the father, and the father then moved, the girlfriend of the father moved in with the mother at the child's home. So they allegedly the ones that were involved, and of course the father was not aware of the incident. So that is why we then ended up arresting the stepmother and the step-grandmother.
Now, the amount of monies that are mentioned here are quite huge, 40 million rand. This was the supposed amount that this young girl was supposed to be sold for. Can you confirm this? And also, what links do you have now to the syndicate?
Well, as I've said earlier, that we could not wait for that soul to be sold. We then put up a waylay investigation. The waylay investigation, of course, was comprised of many different stakeholders, as we have also mentioned, and then we acted in the interest of justice and ensured that the child was rescued. So the people that sold the child to the police team, it was at a deposit of 30,000 rand, and of course, the price tag had been set at that amount, that's 40 million rand. That is a correct figure, and then of course the police also got into the intercepted and were ready to pay a deposit of 30,000 rand, and they allegedly gave in to that, and the child was rescued before any syndicate can get involved in that process.
And these amounts of monies that are being mentioned here, is this quite regular for these type of crimes?
Well, a syndicate that is dealing with human trafficking most probably could come up with that figure, because remember, when you deal with human trafficking, you're dealing with lives. and the commodity, it's used and reused and reused, unlike a product that would be used and it's finished, But when you're dealing with people continually are being used, the victims of human trafficking. So, and we could not wait for that process, and at the stage, it was not even known whether the syndicate is outside, that would take her out of the country, where we would not be able to rescue. It would be difficult to rescue the child. Hence, we acted swiftly as we did, and safely as we did, as there were no human lives that were injured, including those of the suspects. And they are now, the matter has now been put on the court roll, and it has been postponed for a bail application.
This little girl is perhaps one of many who find themselves in situations like this, although perhaps the context may differ somewhat. You've managed now to nab the suspects, who are the grandmother and the stepmother. But are there still going to be investigations in trying to find out who these syndicates are?
Yes, of course. They, like you've noted, the circumstances differ. Other victims is because they are looking for a job, and then some people then they take advantage of them. And others, like this instance, it would be family members that are colluding with syndicates. And fortunately, in this instance, it was a great success. And of course, the investigation continues to ascertain whether there are people that may have been interested or were willing to then buy the child at that amount. And of course, the gadgets, some of the gadgets were taken for further investigation. And of course, the money, the state money that was used to sort of buy the child was recovered as well. It is in the hands of the state.
Which areas, Lieutenant Colonel, are most prone for areas where human trafficking takes place?
Human trafficking is a very complex matter, and people can be trafficked in their own city. Perhaps people can be trafficked in the same province, in a different town, and people can be trafficked into a different country altogether. But what remains the same is the fact that traffickers take advantage of the victims, either because people are unemployed and therefore they are looking for job opportunities, so they can lure them to an area where they have no knowledge of, and that's when they ensure that they commit these crimes. They keep them against their will, and they make them do stuff that they are not supposed, that they would not ordinarily agree into doing. So it can happen anywhere. Ordinarily, it happens into areas where there seems to be more of, economic activities. That's where these people would be lured. But in some instances where it relates to families, of course, it can happen anywhere. It can happen in any other province. As you know, we have quite a number of human trafficking cases scattered around the country.
Now, before I let you go, any tips, perhaps, Lieutenant Colonel, that you can give to our viewers on how best to perhaps even recognize if one is being approached by some sort of a syndicate, and how to make sure that yourself and your family are human trafficking proof?
Of course, the first thing that we would note that is quite common in a number of cases is that the victims, after they've been sold, they would be kept in places like brothels. And of course, in brothels, you would find there is more male who are visiting quite regularly. And if you perhaps see that there are women sitting there, you'll find they are never alone. They are accompanied by people. They are locked up. They never go out, of which supplies come in to maintain them in that place. So those are some of the, key issues that people should notice. And if maybe there is a brothel near you, you would notice that there is a particular gender that keeps visiting, and there is perhaps certain victims that are never going out. You only see them once, but only locked up. And wherever they go, they are frightened, they are scared to, talk to people. So those are some of the signs. And of course, for victims, if you are invited for job interviews, make sure it's jobs that you have applied for, and also do a background check on the company that is inviting you for a job opportunity, those finer details. And if a deal is too good to be true, it's most probably too good to be true, and therefore keep away from it.
Lieutenant, as I let you go, the two suspects, you've said that they've appeared at the court. What next for them?
Well, the investigation continues as to who may be involved on the matter, but they are actually remaining in custody at this stage, pending their formal bail application, which is scheduled to be on the 23rd of June.
Well, thank you very much for that update. That's the Hawk spokesperson there, Lieutenant Colonel Philani Nkwalase. Reminds me of what the representative from the Salvation Army said earlier on when we were talking about this very same topic, saying that human trafficking can very much be described as modern-day slavery. For that is exactly what it is.